Welcome to Mother's Revenge, where heartfelt stories touch your soul and may even bring you to tears. My ex-wife Linda sent me a text last month that said, "You'll die forgotten, Mark Ellis." She was sitting in her Cedar Springs mansion with her new billionaire husband while I was drawing blood samples at a community clinic in Mesa, Arizona, making $19 an hour. I'm Mark Ellis, 52 years old. And for 4 years, I've been the guy nobody notices at the Desert Valley Center. The guy who processes your blood work when you're sick. The guy who eats lunch alone in the break room. The guy whose wife took $32.5 million in her new marriage and left me with nothing but debt and a broken family. But yesterday, something happened that made me collapse right there in my office. A pharmaceutical company called me about my blood test results. They said I have something only 8 people on Earth possess. They've been searching for someone like me for 15 years. And what they offered me changed everything I thought I knew about value, about worth, about what makes someone forgettable or unforgettable. My name is Mark Ellis, and this is the story of how my own blood became my salvation. How a routine staff screening at a blood bank turned into a phone call that made grown executives fly across the country to meet me. How the same hands that my ex-wife called working-class worthless signed a contract worth more than her billionaire husband pays in taxes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about Linda first. We were married 22 years. She's the kind of woman who practiced her smile in the mirror and kept a score of whose husband made more money at the country club we could not afford to belong to. When she met Philip Warner at her Pilates class, she did not just see a man. She saw an escape route from the middle-class life she had grown to despise. Philip Warner owned 3 pharmaceutical companies and a yacht he named after his first merger. Within 5 months of meeting him, Linda had filed for divorce and cleaned out everything we had built together. The text messages started after their wedding. "Philip just bought me an Aston Martin. Mark, how is that Honda treating you? Or we are in Santorini this week. I remember when you thought a trip to South Carolina was fancy, but the cruelest one came last month, the one that kept me awake at night. You will die forgotten, Mark. A nobody who achieved nothing." I believed her. Why would I not? I was a blood bank technician who lived above a Greek restaurant, whose own son would not return his calls, whose daughter spoke to him out of obligation rather than love. I was the definition of forgotten until I ran my own blood through a routine test and discovered that sometimes the most valuable thing in the world has been pumping through your veins all along, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. This is that story. The story of how I went from processing other people's blood to having pharmaceutical companies fight over mine. The story of how 8 people in the entire world carry something scientists call X47B, and how I became the 9th they had been desperately searching for. The story of how Linda's prediction about me dying forgotten became the greatest lie she ever told. Life at 52 was not supposed to look like this. I wake up every morning at 5:30 in my 1-bedroom apartment on Canyon Drive, and the first thing that hits me is the smell of shawarma from the Greek restaurant downstairs. It mingles with the antiseptic scent that never quite leaves my scrubs, no matter how many times I wash them. The apartment costs $900 a month, which is about what Linda now spends on a single lunch with her Cedar Springs friends. My morning routine never changes. Black coffee and the same chipped mug my daughter Grace made in her high school ceramics class. 2 pieces of wheat toast, no butter because of cholesterol concerns I cannot afford to ignore, without health insurance deductibles I can barely meet. Then it is down to my 2000 Honda Accord, the one with the cracked dashboard and a radio that only picks up AM stations. The drive to Desert Valley Center takes exactly 20 minutes, if I hit the lights right. The blood bank sits in a strip mall between a tax preparation office and a nail salon. I have been working there for 12 years, but the last 3 have felt like 30. That is what happens when your life gets hollowed out from the inside. I process roughly 55 blood samples a day, each vial representing someone's story, someone's fear, someone's hope for good news. I handle them all with the same careful precision, the same professional detachment that has become my armor against feeling too much. My supervisor, Carolyn Pierce, is a good woman who tries not to pity me too obviously. She is 58, divorced herself, but she handled hers better, kept the house, kept her dignity, kept her relationship with her kids intact. She finds me in the lab most mornings already 3 samples deep before official opening time. "Mark, you know you do not get overtime for coming in early," she said to me last week. I know. Just could not sleep anyway. She gave me that look, the one that says she understands but will not push. That is the unspoken language of the divorced and discarded. We recognize our own. The break room at Desert Valley Center has fluorescent lighting that makes everyone look sick. I eat my lunch there every day at 12:15 exactly. Turkey sandwich, apple bottle of water. I read medical journals while I eat, not because I have ambitions anymore, but because it is better than scrolling through social media and seeing Linda's posts about her new life. She kept me as a friend on Facebook, I think specifically, so I could see what I was missing. Pictures from charity galas, photos of her and Philip on his yacht, check-ins at restaurants, where the appetizers cost more than my weekly groceries. My son Adam is 28 now, works for a tech startup in Portland, makes good money, has a fiancée named Julia who comes from the right kind of family. Linda made sure of that. She poisoned him against me slowly, carefully, with the kind of precision that would impress a surgeon. "Your father chose his pride over providing for his family," she told him. "Your father could have tried harder, could have been more, but he settled for mediocrity. Adam has not called in 8 months. The last time we spoke, he needed me to sign some papers removing me from an old joint account." His voice was polite but distant, like I was a customer service issue he needed to resolve. "Grace, my daughter, she tries harder. 25 years old in graduate school for social work. She has her mother's beauty but somehow kept her grandmother's heart. She calls every Sunday at 200 years. The conversations are getting shorter, though. 20 minutes became 15, became 10. What do you talk about when your life is the same repetitive loop? How is work? Dad fine. Eating okay? Yes. Seeing anyone? No. The truth is, I have not been on a date since the divorce. What would I say? Hi, I am Mark. I am 52. Live above a restaurant drive. A car older than your nephew, and my ex-wife is married to a billionaire who owns 3 pharmaceutical companies. Want to split an appetizer because I cannot afford to. The weekends are the hardest. Saturdays I do laundry at the laundromat, buy groceries at the discount store, clean an apartment that is never dirty because I am barely there. Sundays I sit in Canyon Park and watch families play. Couples walk their dogs. Kids throw frisbees. I look like every other middle-aged man on a bench. Invisible, forgettable, just part of the landscape. My father's Timex watch is the only valuable thing I own, and it is only valuable to me. He wore it for 30 years at the GM plant before the cancer took him. Work hard, be honest, and life will reward you. He used to say I still wear his watch even though it loses 2 minutes every day, even though I have to wind it every morning, even though it reminds me that sometimes fathers are wrong about how life works. This was my world before everything changed. A small, quiet existence measured in blood vials and sandwich lunches and unreturned phone calls and declined credit cards. I was exactly what Linda said. I was a forgotten man living a forgotten life, processing other people's blood, while my own carried a secret worth more than all of Philip Warner's fortune combined. It started on a Tuesday that felt like every other Tuesday. April 10th, mandatory staff health screening day at Desert Valley Center. Company policy required all employees to undergo annual blood work checking for communicable diseases, making sure we were safe to handle the blood supply. I had done it 11 times before, just another checkbox in another forgettable year. I drew my own blood that morning, same as always. The needle sliding into my arm was so familiar, I could do it with my eyes closed. Label the vial, scan the barcode, place it in the centrifuge with the others. Mark Ellis, employee, ID 5529, one vial among dozens spinning in the machine. The computer system we use is old but reliable. It runs a standard panel of tests and flags, anything unusual. That afternoon, while processing the batch, I saw it. A yellow alert on my sample. Not red, which would mean danger, just yellow. Unusual. The screen showed a protein marker I had never seen before. Rh null variant X47B detected. In 15 years of reading blood work processing thousands upon thousands of samples, I had never encountered this code. I checked our reference manual. Nothing. I pulled up the FDA database. No matches. The medical databases we subscribed to had zero information about X47B. "Everything all right?" Carolyn Pierce asked, passing by my station. "Just an odd reading on one of the samples," I said, not mentioning it was mine. That should have been the end of it. Flag it for the medical director, move on to the next sample. But something made me stay after my shift ended. Maybe it was the emptiness waiting for me at home, or maybe it was pure curiosity, the first I had felt in years. I ran my sample again at 6 p.m. when everyone had gone home. Same result. X47B, clear as day. I expanded my search beyond our usual databases, medical journals, genetic research papers, university studies. Hours passed. The cleaning crew came and went. My eyes burned from staring at the screen, but I kept searching. At 11:40 p.m. I found it. A single mention in a Dutch medical journal from 2019 buried in a footnote about rare blood anomalies. X47B carriers exhibit unique antibody production. Further research limited by extreme scarcity of subjects. The footnote led to another paper locked behind an academic paywall. I used the blood bank's institutional access to get through. This paper from a Korean research team was more specific. Only 8 confirmed X47B carriers identified globally. Pharmaceutical applications, potentially revolutionary, commercial value, immeasurable. My hands started shaking. I knocked over my cold coffee, the brown liquid spreading across my desk, soaking into my notes. Commercial value immeasurable. The words blazed on the screen like they were written in neon. Another search revealed the Haverford Institute for Genetic Research. Their website was minimal, professional, almost secretive. No flashy graphics or testimonials, just clean text on a white background. At the bottom of their research page, barely visible, was a single line. The Institute maintains active interest in identifying X47B carriers for critical medical research. Substantial compensation available for qualified participants. Below that, a phone number. I stared at that number until my vision blurred. It was past midnight now. The blood bank was silent except for the hum of refrigeration units keeping tomorrow's samples cold. I pulled out my phone and saw Linda's latest text sent earlier that evening while I was searching. "Philip is flying us to Vienna tomorrow. Private jet, of course. I remember when you thought first class was extravagant. Some people are meant for bigger things, Mark. Others are not." The cruelty of her timing felt like fate mocking me. Here I was discovering something potentially extraordinary about myself, and she was reminding me of my insignificance. I looked at the phone number again. What if this was nothing? What if X47B was just a minor variation, medically interesting but commercially worthless? But what if it was not? I thought about Adam's engagement party in 6 weeks, the one I had not been invited to. I thought about Grace's graduate school loans that I could not help with. I thought about the stack of bills on my kitchen counter marked final notice. I thought about the retirement account I had emptied during the divorce and the 20 years of work ahead of me just to survive. My father's watch ticked on my wrist, losing time as always, but still marking the seconds as I made my decision. I wrote the phone number on my hand with a Sharpie like a teenager afraid of losing a girl's digits. I gathered my things, locked the blood bank door behind me, and drove home through empty streets. Sleep did not come that night. I lay in my narrow bed above the Greek restaurant that never quite closed, listening to the late-night voices of people with simpler problems than mine. The number on my hand seemed to pulse with possibility. Tomorrow, I would make the call. Tomorrow, I would find out if my blood was my burden or my salvation. The sunrise came whether I was ready or not. Wednesday, April 11th. The day I would discover that sometimes the most valuable thing you possess has been flowing through your veins all along. Wednesday morning came with a thunderstorm that suited my nerves perfectly. I sat in my 2000 Honda Accord during lunch break, parked behind the blood bank where nobody would see me. The number I had written on my hand had smeared but was still readable. My sandwich sat untouched on the passenger seat while rain hammered the windshield. I dialed the number 3 times before I let it actually ring. Haverford Institute, Dr. Karen Monroe speaking. The voice was professional alert, like she had been waiting for this specific call. My name is Mark Ellis. I found your website about X47B carriers. I have it in my blood. I tested positive for X47B. Silence. Then I heard her chair creak, the sound of fingers flying across a keyboard. Mr. Ellis, where are you calling from? Mesa, Arizona. I work at Desert Valley Center. I ran the test myself yesterday during our staff screening. You work at a blood bank. Her voice pitched higher, excited now. Mr. Ellis, can you send me the lab results immediately? Do you have access to email? Yes, but I need to know what this is about first. Mr. Ellis, I am going to be completely transparent with you. If your test results are accurate, you are one of only 9 people on Earth with this genetic marker. We have been searching for additional carriers for 15 years. I need to verify your results, and if they are legitimate, I need to meet you today. Today. But you do not even know where exactly I am. Mr. Ellis, if you have X47B, I will be on a plane to Mesa within an hour of confirming your results. This is that important. My hand shook as I sent the email from my phone attaching screenshots of my test results. I watched her receive it in real time, heard her intake of breath. Oh my God, she whispered, forgetting professionalism for a moment. Mr. Ellis, do not leave your location. I am bringing our legal team. We will be there by 300. The next 3 hours passed in a surreal haze. I tried to work, but my hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped 2 vials. Carolyn noticed something was wrong. Mark, you look like you have seen a ghost. Are you feeling all right? I might need to leave early today. Personal matter. At 2:45, a black SUV pulled into the parking lot. 3 people emerged. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and silver hair pulled back in a bun. A younger man in an expensive suit carrying a briefcase, and another woman with an iPad who immediately started taking photos of the building. Dr. Karen Monroe looked exactly like someone who spent their life hunting for the impossible. She shook my hand with both of hers, studying my face like she was memorizing every detail. Mr. Ellis, this is Brian Keller, our chief legal counsel, and Dr. Laura Shin, my research partner. Is there somewhere private we can talk? I led them to our conference room, the one we used for staff meetings about budget cuts and policy changes. Carolyn watched from her office, eyes wide. In 12 years, we had never had visitors who arrived in vehicles that cost more than our annual operating budget. Dr. Monroe spread documents across the table while Keller set up a laptop. Dr. Shin pulled out medical equipment I recognized but had never seen outside of research hospitals. Mr. Ellis, I need to verify your blood type first. May I draw a small sample? I nodded, rolling up my sleeve. She worked with the efficiency of someone who had done this thousands of times, but with the reverence of someone handling something precious. The rapid test confirmed what we all knew. Positive for X47B, she announced. Dr. Monroe leaned forward. Mr. Ellis, let me explain what you are carrying. X47B carriers produce antibodies that can treat multiple genetic disorders affecting millions of people worldwide. These disorders include childhood leukemia variants, certain types of muscular dystrophy, and a rare neurological condition that has always been fatal until now. She pulled up a presentation on the laptop showing charts and medical data that made my head spin. The other 8 carriers are already under contract with various institutions. 7 are producing antibodies that have led to treatments worth billions in the pharmaceutical market. The 8th was discovered last year in Brazil. The bidding war for his participation reached numbers that made international headlines in medical journals. Bidding war. My voice cracked. Brian Keller opened his briefcase. Mr. Ellis, the Haverford Institute is prepared to make you an immediate offer. We do not want a bidding war. We want to secure your participation today exclusively before other institutes learn about your existence. How do you know I will not just call these other institutes myself? Dr. Monroe smiled. You could, but... Mr. Ellis, we found you first because we never stopped looking. The others gave up. We have invested 15 years and millions of dollars searching for someone like you. We have developed the most advanced extraction and synthesis process. Our facilities are the best equipped. Our compensation package reflects not just the value of what you carry, but our gratitude for finding you. She nodded to Keller, who pulled out a contract and placed it in front of me. The number at the top made the room spin. The blood bank's fluorescent light suddenly seemed too bright. This cannot be real, I managed to say. Mr. Ellis, Dr. Monroe said softly, what you carry in your veins could save thousands of children, and we are willing to compensate you accordingly. The number on the contract seemed to float off the page. 3.5 million annual retainer, 55,000 per monthly donation. Full medical coverage for life, relocation assistance, stock options, and any drug developed from my antibodies. I stared at it so long that Dr. Monroe gently touched my arm. Mr. Ellis, are you all right? This says 3.5 million per year. That is the base retainer. Yes, the monthly donations would add another 660,000 annually. There is also the signing bonus. Keller flipped to page 3. $6 million payable upon contract execution. The words blurred as my eyes filled with tears I refused to let fall. Not here. Not in front of these strangers who held my future in their manicured hands. I need to sit down, I said, already sitting. The chair beneath me felt unreal, like everything might dissolve if I moved too suddenly. Mr. Ellis, Dr. Monroe pulled her chair closer. I understand this is overwhelming, but I need you to understand something. The last X-47B carrier we could not secure went to our competitor. That single person's antibodies generated a treatment that earned $4 billion in its first year. The children who could have been saved sooner, the families who waited longer for hope. That responsibility keeps me awake at night. My phone buzzed. Linda again. Adam just told me you are not coming to his engagement party. Probably for the best. Philip's friends would ask what you do, and blood bank technician is not exactly dinner conversation. I turned the phone face down and looked at the 3 people watching me with an intensity that should have been frightening but was not. They needed me. For the first time in my life, someone truly needed what only I could provide. How does this work? The donations, Dr. Laura Shin explained. It is similar to plasma donation. You would come to our facility once a month. The process takes about 2 hours. Your body replenishes the antibodies naturally. There is no risk to your health. In fact, with our medical monitoring, you will be the healthiest you have ever been. Where is your facility? We have several. The nearest to you is in Denver, but we would relocate you wherever you are comfortable. Santa Barbara is where most of our carriers choose to live. Perfect weather, beautiful facility close to our main laboratory. Santa Barbara, 3,000 tomed me from Linda's poison from the restaurant smell in my apartment from the sympathy looks at work. What about my job here? Carolyn chose that moment to knock. She peered through the glass concern written across her face. I waved her in. Carolyn, I might be putting in my notice. She looked at the suited strangers. The papers spread across the table, the medical equipment. Understanding dawned on her face. Mark, whatever this is, you take it. You hear me? You take it and run. After she left, Brian Keller pulled out another document. This is a confidentiality agreement. Once you sign the main contract, the news will eventually emerge. But for now, we need discretion. I picked up the pen. It was heavier than any pen I had ever held. Silver, with the Haverford Institute logo engraved on the side. My hand trembled as I signed the NDA. Now Dr. Monroe said, "The main contract, Mr. Ellis. Once you sign this, I will make a call. Within 30 minutes, $6 million will be in your account. By tomorrow, you will have access to the best medical care in the country. By next week, if you choose, you could be in a new home in Santa Barbara, beginning a new chapter of your life. What about the people this helps? Will I know about them? Every patient, if they consent. Yes, you will receive updates on the treatments developed from your donations. You will know exactly whose lives you are changing." I thought about my father dying of cancer in a hospital bed, apologizing that he could not leave me more than a watch and his work ethic. I thought about Grace, brilliant and compassionate, limited by student loans I could not help with. I thought about Adam lost to me because I could not compete with Philip Warner's wealth and influence. Then I thought about children I would never meet dying from conditions my blood could cure. "I need to make one call first," I said. I stepped into the hallway and called Grace. "Dad, it is the middle of the day. Is everything okay? Grace, remember when you were 7 and you asked me if miracles were real? Dad, you are scaring me. I told you that miracles were just science we did not understand yet. Sweetheart, I just found out I am carrying one in my blood. There is something in my blood that can save lives, and they are going to pay me for it." "Really? Pay you?" "Dad, what are you talking about?" "I cannot explain everything now, but Grace, everything is about to change. Your student loans gone. That social work program you wanted to expand at your school funded. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, I can finally give it to you." She was crying. I could hear it in her breath. "Dad, just be careful, please. I love you, sweetheart. I will call you tonight with everything." I walked back into the conference room, picked up that heavy silver pen, and signed my name on the line that would transform me from Mark Ellis, forgotten blood bank technician, to Mark Ellis, the man whose blood could save the world. Dr. Monroe immediately pulled out her phone. "This is Karen authorization code Delta 77. Execute the Ellis account. Full signing bonus, immediate transfer." 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. The number was so large, the automated system had called it unusual activity and asked me to confirm it was not fraud. $6 million in my checking account that had held $73 this morning. I had to grip the table to keep from collapsing. 7 months have passed since I signed that contract, and I am standing on the balcony of my new home in Santa Barbara watching the Pacific Ocean change colors with the sunset. It is not a mansion like Philip's. I did not want that. It is a simple 3-bedroom house with a view that reminds me every morning that life can surprise you when you least expect it. The Haverford Institute built their collection facility 20 minutes from here. Once a month I drive there in my new truck. Nothing fancy, but reliable and paid for in cash. The donation process takes 2 hours. I lie in a comfortable chair while my blood flows through a machine that separates the antibodies from everything else. Dr. Laura Shin always supervises personally. She says I am the easiest donor they have ever had. Probably because I spent 12 years on the other side of the needle. The first child saved by my antibodies was named Molly. 8 years old, from Iowa, diagnosed with a genetic condition that had already taken her ability to walk. Her mother sent me a video last week of Molly playing soccer. She scored 2 goals. Her laugh could power a city. I have watched that video 43 times. Adam called me 2 months after the news broke about my contract with Haverford. Word travels fast in pharmaceutical circles, and Philip heard about it before anyone. Dad, I heard about your work with the Institute. Mom says you are lying about the money. Your mother says a lot of things, Adam. Is it true about your blood? It is true. Can we talk in person? He flew out the next week. We sat on my balcony for hours while I explained everything. He cried when I showed him the letters from families whose children were starting treatment. When he left, he hugged me for the first time in 3 years and said, "I am sorry, Dad, for everything. Mom made you sound like a failure, but you were just waiting for your moment." Grace graduated last month debt-free. I paid off her loans the day after my signing bonus hit. She is starting a nonprofit focused on genetic testing for underprivileged communities. The Ellis Foundation, she is calling it. I pretend I do not tear up every time she mentions it. The blood bank received an anonymous donation of $1 million earmarked for new equipment and staff bonuses. Carolyn called me crying when it arrived. "Mark, I know this was you. I do not know what you are talking about. Thank you. The new equipment will save lives. Blood always saves lives, Carolyn. Sometimes it just takes a while to figure out how." Linda sent 17 texts in the first week after the news broke. They evolved from disbelief to anger to desperate bargaining. "We were married for 22 years, Mark. California is a community property state. I am entitled to half of this." My lawyer hired by Haverford Institute responded with a simple reminder that she had signed away all future claims in exchange for her generous divorce settlement. She had wanted a clean break, and she had gotten one. Philip apparently is not as wealthy as he pretends. His companies are leveraged struggling. The irony that my blood will generate more revenue than his entire portfolio is not lost on me. Linda's latest text sent last week was different. Mark Y was wrong. We could try again. I deleted it without responding. Some blood types just are not compatible. But here is what I have learned in these 7 months. The lesson that matters more than the money or the vindication. We all carry something valuable inside us. Every single person has something unique, something that could change the world. Most of us just never find out what it is. I was lucky. A routine test revealed my gift. But I think about all the people walking around with their own X47B equivalent, their own secret superpower, their own ability to save lives or change history, and they will never know. They will die thinking they were ordinary, forgotten, worthless. My father was wrong when he said hard work and honesty would be rewarded. Sometimes they are not. Sometimes you can do everything right and still lose everything. But he was right about something else. He used to say, "Everyone has a purpose, Mark. Some people just take longer to find it." At 52, working at a blood bank, divorced and discarded, I found mine. It was flowing through my veins all along, waiting for the right moment to announce itself. Now 41 children are receiving treatment derived from my antibodies. By next year, it will be hundreds. By the decades and thousands. Linda was wrong about one thing above all. I will not die forgotten. I will live forever in the lives I have saved, the families I have healed, the futures I have made possible. My blood will outlive me, synthesized and replicated, saving children not yet born from diseases we are just beginning to understand. That is the thing about blood. It tells the truth about who we are, even when we do not know ourselves. And sometimes, if you are very lucky, the truth it tells is worth more than all the money in the world. My name is Mark Ellis. I am 52 years old. I am a former blood bank technician whose ex-wife Linda married a billionaire and told me I would die forgotten. Instead, I became the one thing she never expected: unforgettable. If you found this story meaningful, please share it with someone who needs to hear that their value is not determined by their bank account or their job title. Like this video if it touched you, and leave a comment about a time when life surprised you with an unexpected gift. And do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about ordinary people who discovered they were extraordinary. Because that is all of us, really. We are all carrying something special. Sometimes it just takes a while to find out what it